You're listening to a Brain Stew Fresh Fright review.
What's up, creeps? Welcome to another brand new Epic Film Guys Fresh Fright review. I'm Justin.
I'm B-ratty.
And on this episode, we are talking Ready or Not 2, Here I Come, a sequel that took 7 years to get released.
Wow.
I didn't realize, B-ratty, that it took this many years for this movie to happen.
Yeah, it seems crazy. I feel like it just came out two or 3 years ago. But I mean, sure enough, looking at it right now, 2019. I mean,
Yeah.
did you see the first one in theaters?
Absolutely. I did. I remember I saw it opening weekend. I didn't know much about it. That was when Samara Weaving was nowhere near being a household name, nowhere in comparison to where she is now.
Mm-hmm.
And Radio Silence was kind of a non-entity, really. That was kind of like their first big breakout movie. So I saw it at Alamo, DC, where my home is, where I do all my Terror Tuesday events and such. And I remember walking out pretty hot on it. I thought it was really good, actually.
Yeah, I actually I didn't see it in theaters. I slept on it, and then I mean, obviously, when we were doing Scream 5 or 5 Cream.
5 Cream.
You know, this writer combination and Radio Silence was a big topic, and everybody kept going back to, oh, well, they did Ready or Not, so it'll be good. So around that time, I watched it. And same thing, I thought it was fun. I thought it was something creative. It wasn't, breaking the mold or anything,
No.
but it still had the great violence, some good comedy, and Samara Weaving, showed that she should be in these films going forward. So when they announced this one, I was like, all right, well, cool. That makes sense. I think they ended the first one extremely well. Like, they stuck the landing, I think.
Absolutely, yeah.
You kind of knew that they were going to be doing something down the road with just how much it made at the box office and how well it did. So here we are.
Yeah, I mean, when you do the comparison with this movie and that movie was a budget around $6 million. It made almost $60 million. And this, they more than doubled the budget. It's around 14, and so far it's at 9. We're recording this on a Sunday, so it's looking like opening roughly around the same that the first one did, but the first one had legs, a lot of word of mouth. The second one, I'm not seeing that it's probably going to have that same advantage, and also it went up against Project Hail Mary, which I hope I get to talk about on a separate episode, even though it's not usually our wheelhouse. We stick to horror mostly, but I fucking loved that movie so much, and it's definitely as I said in my quote that's in all the commercials and everything right now, like a generational movie. But that movie's like taking up a lot of the big screens, and it's breaking records right now. So I think that Ready or Not 2 is probably going to have a hard time bringing in the same amount of box office that the first one did. But, I mean, they took a chance. This is definitely a gamble, as we said earlier, releasing a sequel to a movie this many years down the line. The first one is kind of like a cult movie. And with Radio Silence, helming their 2 Scream movies that were big successes, and then, of course, Abigail, which we talked about last year, which was not a success, I feel like their name is relevant enough to bring a lot of eyes onto a sequel to their most beloved, I would say, arguably say it's their most beloved movie, because it is an original movie.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I think when you think Radio Silence, most people are going to bring up Ready or Not.
Yeah, and it was, like you said, for the time, it was unique, and it had a different kind of premise, and I liked how dark it was. We're going to get into this one here. Full spoilers, ladies and gentlemen, and be ready. If there's anyone out there, a single fucking person on this planet that doesn't know what Ready or Not 2 is, fill them in.
So after surviving one deadly game, Grace and now her sister Faith must now outrun 4 rival families competing for a powerful throne. Winner takes all.
Yeah. And I love how the movie, just jumping right in on initial thoughts, it opens right as the other movie ends. Like, it literally, I miss sequels that pick up right at the exact moment that the last one left off. I thought that was a great way to kick off the movie.
Yeah, I was happy they did that. And to its credit, like, you didn't really feel like 7 years had passed. Like,
no, not at all.
It's picking up right after. Obviously, you knew that the family from the first one was not going to be present since they all died and blew
They're
up.
all dead. Yeah.
So, when they're announcing the cast for this one, like initial thoughts, I was pretty stoked about what you're seeing with the cast. I mean, you have obviously Samara Weaving coming back, Catherine Newton, who has been showing her horror chops the past couple of years.
Absolutely. Yeah.
But then you have Elijah Wood, you have Sarah Michelle Gellar, you have Sean Lucy, David Cronenberg is in here for a little bit.
I was going to say a little bit. I was all pumped thinking he was going to be in the whole
know.
movie, and he's like in the first 5 minutes. But you know what? That's usually his forte, because like in Jason X, he's like, yeah, I'll be in your movie if you kill me in the first 5 minutes, but I get to be staked through the fucking chest, kind of thing.
And I gotta say, for playing an old frail man, he still looks pretty alive. He still looks like he's up and running.
He's such a great actor, dude. I mean, he's in Nightbreed too. Like, I wish he did more parts in movies, because he's a good actor. Like, he knows, obviously being one of the most iconic and legendary directors in the history of horror. The guy knows how to work a scene pretty well. I just was kind of bummed. We'll get to the whole premise there after that happens, but I loved the idea of this cast. I mean, Catherine Newton is one of my favorite. She was great in Abigail. As much as a lot of people shat on that movie, I really enjoyed that movie. It was a lot of fun. It was a silly vampire movie. She's great in that movie, and I loved her in Lisa Frankenstein. She's just been fantastic, and I think the casting of her, besides Samara Weaving and them playing sisters, was perfect, because the main thing in this movie that works the most for me is their chemistry together.
So I guess that's where I think they had good chemistry together, but I felt like it was not a storyline that I wasn't as invested in between the two of them as sisters. Like in the first, so they did fine with each other, like on a purely performance level. But this whole, and like you said, full spoilers, where Faith comes into play because she was still listed as Grace's emergency contact.
Right.
And like, that's fine. That's an easy way to get her there. But then you find out that they're estranged. They don't like each other. They haven't talked in years. And then just as a matter of proximity, Faith becomes wrapped up in the new game and the next level.
Which I kind of like that, because it's like, it's once again like the first one. It brings that element like fish out of water, like, holy fuck, what is happening to me right now? And she's not there for a reason that's specific to her, like she wants to be, like we're in the first one. Grace is there because she's getting married to this dude she thinks she's going to spend the rest of her life with. Or in this case, Faith is like, oh shit, I'm seeing my estranged sister. I need to get out of here. She actually tries leaving. And then of course she's caught into the mix here.
Dude, I will say that first kill of the movie where the detective is walking, the knife just like flies through the air, hits him in the throat. I was like, holy shit.
I jumped out of my seat. I'm not even going to lie, because again, we know that Radio Silence is so well with pacing, and they've had a couple of good jump scares throughout their last few movies that I really enjoyed, and that was a great little jolt. It took me a while to kind of get into the groove of the movie. I mean, I did love, like I said, the way that it picks up right where the last one leaves off. And this movie does a great job of capturing and extending the lore, if you will, all the Hail Satan shit with, the Order of the Six Elite Families that are all part of this council where, like, if one family's gone, then the seat arises and it can be opened up again, and they have to fight again for that seat. So it's a cool and a simple enough premise to get a sequel out of it. I feel like now I need to make sure I mention this right off the bat, because strangely enough, B-ratty, I actually saw this movie with closed captioning. I've actually never seen a regular movie with subtitles, unless it was a foreign movie, like a Japanese movie or a Chinese movie or Italian movie. That was not by choice. I sat down. I'm like, what the fuck? Why is it saying like explosion in background on the screen? And I went and talked to the manager very quickly, and they're like, oh yeah, dude, you picked like a closed caption movie version.
Damn.
So I had to sit through that. But with that subject, I noticed this on the last one, but how egregiously terrible the dialogue for most of this movie is, where,
oh my God,
you know how I am no fucking prude. I curse on the episodes every single week, but every other word was fuck. And that really bothers me when the rest of the writing is pretty solid and there's decent enough dialogue to be had. When you have fuck, oh fucking shit, fuck, and it's like every other line, because I'm reading it. I can't not see it, right? So to me, it felt just, it frustrated the hell out of me, because if you're a good writer, you can write these scenes without having to do that much foul language. I mean, the impact of the language there's none there. It's zero. no point in the movie where like someone says fuck and it means anything. It's just every other word.
It's a lost art,
Yes,
it used to be
it truly is.
a well-placed fuck. Or, I mean, even like, I feel like a couple of years ago that you would never hear somebody call somebody like a cunt, right? Unless it was like super big. And this one, I think there's a character who says it like 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, she says it 3 or 4 times.
And I was like, wow, okay. Like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm usually the one on the podcast who's like, look, I say fuck at least once every other sentence in daily life, but I also know when to tone it back. And like if I'm in a professional setting, I'm not doing that.
Of course.
I just it takes me out of it when it's this egregious and this heavy handed in terms of like, oh, we don't really have anything worth writing, so you're just gonna say fuck.
Yeah, and I don't know. A lot of this feels like a lot of these movies that do this feel like, and Abigail did it too, where it feels like they're letting them play, like just play and be foul and go for it. Which is totally fine, but then that you have to take a look at the actors and how limited their vocabulary is for what they can do with their character. Again, I'm not trying to hammer over the head with this, but I'm so frustrated by this because we just saw, and trying not to compare, the recent Scream movie that wasn't radio silence versus a new radio silence movie, but when you watch that movie, look at the language. There's some F-bombs in there and stuff, absolutely, but it's not every other word. You can do movies like this without having it every other word. So
did you you may not have had this. It was probably for me growing up in my Christian household, but there was a DVD player you could get a setting. It was called the Angel Guardian, and I remember this. Yeah, if you did it, it would bleep out. It supposedly would bleep out any sort of language, and you could control it. So, like, put what words in there. So my parents were like, "Well, yeah, of course." My dad loved like war movies and cop movies, and he didn't want to give those up. He's like, "So maybe we'll just get these, and it'll be fine." Well, I remember The Departed had just come out, and my dad really wanted to watch it, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll watch it." But I was like 10 when that movie came out, 10 or 11. And so we're watching it, and there's so much language in that movie that
absolutely
there were whole like 30-second scenes of dialogue that it would just mute. It would go through, but you could not hear what they were saying. And that's what I feel like would happen with this movie. And like, you don't need that anymore. And with that movie, like you're talking about a bunch of like Irish Boston
dude,
cops.
It makes sense if you're a bunch of dude, right. That movie, it makes perfect sense to have the language the way that it is. Absolutely. There's not a single, maybe there's 1 or 2 characters in this movie that don't curse as much as the others. So everyone is kind of the same in that sense. No one's unique. You don't have a character that's not constantly cussing. You know what I mean? Like everyone's screaming obscenities the whole movie. And I just got really annoyed by it. It got really old really fast. So that's probably my biggest criticism of the movie, is just how weak the dialogue was. It just seemed like so, I mean, come on, guys. Seriously?
Yeah.
But getting back to that hospital scene that you mentioned where the cop gets it in the neck, great scene. I was bummed to see Kevin Durand so quick in and out of the movie, but we know that he's breaking rules already, because we know there are rules when it comes to, trying to take the seat. You can't start trying to kill the person before the game begins. And he's already in there trying to kill her,
Yeah, like that was interesting because, at least the little bit of world building that happened in that first movie is you understand that there are some rules to the games that are being played. And if you disobey those rules or cheats, you end up getting killed, and so does the rest of your bloodline. And so for this one to start off with this guy who supposedly is part of one of these families that is on the High Council would know that, but tries to kill her before the games even start and doesn't think anything's going to happen. Like, to me, that just was like, all right, well, that's kind of goofy, right? Like, but again, that goes back to, is this shoddy writing? Is this rushed writing? Like, I also, not to keep harping on like the sister connection, but apparently Radio Silence had tried to develop, or was working on developing, a script for a completely different original movie with Samara Weaving and Catherine Newton as other characters who are sisters.
Ooh, I didn't know that.
They were approached by Searchlight to do Ready or Not sequel, and so they were like, okay, we'll just insert that into this. So maybe that's where there's some issue where they tried to make something
blend
a little
two
more
movies
square fit into something circular. You know what I mean? Again, Kevin Durand, like the first thing I remember seeing him in was Wild Hogs.
Oh
like,
my god!
And he's like he's like Ray Liotta's biker friend who's just like saying
Wild
weird
Hogs
stuff. Classic movie. But yeah, like as he's popped up in more and more. I mean, he was in Abigail. Like he is just fun, so I was really hoping to get more out of him.
He was
and
in the really terrible Clown in a Cornfield movie that came out last year, and he's good in that movie. So I love seeing him pop up in more horror stuff. He was great in the Last Apes movie as the villain. Amazing performance. I really enjoy him. That's why I was kind of bummed to see him get off so quickly. But of course, he's playing like a coke snorting, like murderous asshole. So I was like, all right, cool, whatever. So it made sense kind of, but it also didn't. But I was just bummed to see him get off really quickly. I mean, because the rest of the supporting cast, we have like Nestor Carbonell showing up randomly in this movie, and I'm like, I haven't seen him in anything in a long time. So
Bates Motel, I think, was the last thing that I remember seeing him in.
And that accent he's got going on too, man, it really, really hilarious. I really liked what he was doing with that. So after this, obviously, they're able to capture the sisters very easily. And there has to be a lot of suspension of disbelief in this thing, because we know this is like the day after the events of the first movie. Grace is in a hospital bed, and she went through hell and back, dude. Like, the opening of this movie is her trying to smoke a cigarette and she passes out. Like, she's done with, right? You're telling me that her time in that hospital was enough for her to get recouped up so she can actually go through the hell she has to go through in this movie again?
Yeah. I mean, just her telling Faith like how much she went through, where she's like, I got shot through the hand, I got stabbed in the stomach, like all
by her husband.
And then now she's like, oh shit, like you're now jumping into like Rambo mode almost. Which is like, there's some resolve to her. You saw that in the first one, but it's a movie, but it's a little out there.
It's out there. And adrenaline's only going to take you so far. I just was waiting the whole movie for her just to keel over, and she almost does a few times. But I mean, she goes through even more shit in this movie. Explosions, being stabbed through the shoulder, getting glass, blown up and all over, sticking into her arms, and the shit kicked out of her. Like, I mean, any normal human being, they should have had her like inject some kind of like super serum or something to like make a little bit more sense how she's able to go through this thing. I mean, we're already dealing with this super outlandish, over the top satanic cult thing. So,
right.
I mean, you literally see like Satan's like spirit or some shit pop up. And, like, yeah, you might as well just have something like that to make it make sense why she's able to go through this whole thing like and not be dead already, And
what I do like too, though, is if you can get past that part, when you get to the actual like meat of the movie, where it's, basically what happens now, because she killed off her husband's family, they have to like reconfigure the High Council, and so there has to be somebody from each family on these like 5. I guess no, it's 4 now. It went from 6 to 4.
It's 4. Yeah,
and they have to all try to kill her before dawn. And if whoever kills her becomes, the main leader of the High Council. And this is where we have good old David Cronenberg just to be the the aging father who the kids, the twins, have to kill so that they can compete and don't have to make him compete, and they can keep it in their family, which I thought was a pretty good storyline. It's a very Cronenberg-esque storyline that he's part of.
It is. It made me really sad also, but you're visually seeing David Cronenberg get killed by a pillow, suffocated to death on screen. I was like, man, I really don't want to. I mean, because he's already old now, and we're already like, last week alone, like, R.I.P. Jamie Blanks, who did Urban Legend and Valentine, like, and the same day Chuck Norris died. Not that I care much about him, but are these people that are part of these movies that we love so dearly from being younger in our childhood and from decades and decades of watching movies are starting to leave us more and more now. And it's just, how shit goes. But I'm like, man, it really connected with me. I'm like, please don't take David Cronenberg too.
Oh, I know. Maybe it's kind of like if it happened in the movie, it won't happen for a while. But, what I do like about the sequel is that it does kind of follow the formula of a true sequel. There's a bigger budget. There's much more gore. You have a higher body count. Like
up the ante.
When all these people signed up and you see them all in that room waiting, you're like, all right, like there's definitely going to be a lot of dead bodies here. And sure enough, the movie does follow through on that.
It does, yeah. And I gotta say, I really loved seeing Elijah Wood pop up in something else again. He was just in The Toxic Avenger, which I wasn't super hot on or anything, but here he seems like he's having a lot of fun as this like really stuffed shirt lawyer asshole.
And it's a good role for him, kind of that like smarmy, like pretentious, like, he's that guy that you hate because he's like the big boss's lackey, but you can't like do anything to him. But he's the one who's always like, well, are you allowed to do that? It's a good role.
You kind of sounded like him a little bit there for a second.
I've been channeling it. But I liked him in that. And then I gotta say, so the other rules that they're putting on this one are that if you're the family hunting Grace, you can only use weapons that were around by the time your family got put on the council. And they don't really do a lot more to give you backstory, just context clues like
Yeah.
the one family can have like a sniper rifle, but then the other family has like a Revolutionary War era pistol, and most people have like some sort of knife, sword, hammer combo. But again, what I felt made the first one great is that Grace kind of happens into killing people a lot. Like it's not like there's this backstory like a nobody, or what's that new movie with Bob Odenkirk coming out that you must have seen a trailer for before this one, where he's like a sheriff in a small town who all of a sudden turns into Rambo.
Yeah.
There's nothing about that with her. She just ends up like falling the right way or like moving out of the way just in time. But
people
in this
get killed.
one,
Yeah.
right. In this one, it's more intentional. Like, and that's again where you had to suspend some belief there, where she and her sister are handcuffed to each other at one point, and they're like getting tracked down by this guy with a pretty cool mask and sword.
Cool visual.
And they're able to kill him. It just there's some of it you're like, all right, like it's cool. The gore is worth it, I guess. But like, if you're already kind of starting the movie off with poor writing, it doesn't get any better. Let me just warn you all.
I mean, I actually really loved that kill. Viraj was the character's name, and somehow, I mean, dude, after what she's been through in the first movie, even though it's been only a couple of days or a day or whatever the hell it's been, and
like 4 hours,
well, whatever it's been. And I mentioned earlier, like the fact that she's still able to stand, let alone walk around and try to fight anyone. Both of them could take him out, and they did. And I loved they put him in like an industrial strength washing machine. Yeah. And then, I mean, she forgets like, oh, he might have a phone on him, and they like pull him out of the washing machine, and he's like mush, like fried mush. And I just love that visual. Great practical effect too, mind you, of someone being like steamed to be burned to death, And
there were some good screams there too. Like he's like wailing and screaming inside that washing machine. And I was like, oh man, this is actually.
It was a good mean-spirited kill, and it reminded me of
Halloween 6.
Maybe a little bit of Halloween 6 there. Yeah. A little bit of My Bloody Valentine there with, the washer or whatever, the dryer, whatever it is. But no, it was a great kill. I get what you're saying though. I mean, that's once you're in on it, you have to be in on it or you're not. And I kind of just let it be. I was like, whatever they're able to do here. If they're not able to do it, the movie doesn't work.
Yeah. And then you find out from another character that there is a loophole in all this where they can all, quote, win, where if Grace agrees to marry into one of the families
right
before she's killed, then they're not allowed to kill her. And then that family becomes the seat on the high, like the head seat on the High Council. And Grace is like, absolutely not. And her sister, I thought that was a funny scene where she's like, I'll fucking do it. I'll marry the kid.
This annoying kid that's like his face is glued to his video game.
Was it like Red Hots? Is it like a bowl of Red Hots in front of it?
I think hot tamales, dude. It was a bowl of hot tamales.
Which gave me indigestion just by watching it.
Oh, absolutely. Because he's like pounding them down, dude.
Oh yeah, handfuls. So what I liked here is also you're not allowed, if you're a family, not allowed to kill another member of the family, or else all of a sudden, that's again, your bloodline will be completely killed. And so Grace manages to kill one person with another person's hand and sword, basically dispatching two people at once.
Yeah.
And that was funny when they're all in the room and that kid is just playing his game, and like
he's
Elijah Wood
he's like, what are you looking at, or why are you looking at me? And then he fucking explodes all over all of them. And I loved that scene so much as he's like about to eat more hot tamales.
Yeah. right. One could say he became a hot tamale.
He sure did.
But yeah, so I think, moving along, you kind of get a little clue here, like this is probably going to come back around. Like how else did they get out of this? And it sure enough it does as we get down the road. But between here and the end of the movie, there's some fun moments. I mean, the twins of Sarah Michelle Gellar and Sean Hattasey, the Danforths, they have some good rapport back and forth. I mean, these are two horror aficionados here. I mean, you got Sean from The Faculty with Elijah Wood. I never even put that together until just now. But
yeah,
they're
dude.
back on the screen together. Sarah Michelle Gellar, you could name anything, but Buffy, which the sad news, the Buffy reboot is not happening. But but it was good to see them get some moments to shine. As Titus and what was her name? I'm
Ursula.
blanking right. Ursula, that's
Yeah.
right. And then you're kind of being told that Titus is like this raging psychopath, and he definitely leans into it at some
He shows
point.
that
You don't really get it until the end.
Yeah, I mean, he I think it builds throughout the movie because you could tell he's been bullied by his father.
Yeah.
First scene with them when they have to do what they have to do and they have to suffocate him so they can take the seat and play the game. He slaps him and says, "Be a fucking man." Like, so you could tell he's always been like, because they're twins. That sister's probably Ursula's always been probably favored to rule the family. She even mentions it to him. So he's always had this really aggressive nature to him, but probably hasn't been able to like relay that or show that his dominance. And in this movie, he does. I mean, there's a scene that I felt really, really uncomfortable watching, which is when Titus catches Faith in a hallway and she tries fighting him back, and he literally beats the shit out of her so brutally. Like, dude, honestly, like, I wasn't enjoying that very much because I love Catherine Newton so much. She's such a sweetheart. And even though she can come off as like a badass in these movies, it felt like some real shit. Like, it felt a little bit too real for me. And honestly, like, if he beat her up that bad in real life, she'd be like in the emergency room dying, dude. She wouldn't be upstanding with like a little scrape on her forehead and a bruise on her cheek in the next scene.
Right.
But
Well,
anyways,
it's also this scene is juxtaposed with the needle drop of Total Eclipse of the Heart when Maya J's Francesca is fighting with Grace. And what I do like about this is Francesca is supposed to be Ignacio's daughter, but also was Alex his ex-fiance before Grace came along.
Before Grace came along, yeah. So
she,
she's
like,
got this
puts on
vendetta
this
against
dress.
her.
Yeah, she puts on a wedding dress and brings a rocket launcher out there. So I thought it was an interesting scene where you have the two of them, like they have pepper sprayed each other so they can't see, and they're just like fighting,
tumbling
like,
around,
trying to find each other. But then you also get Titus like beating the absolute shit out of Faith. And there were parts of this movie, in the first one I felt it too, but more so in this one, especially here, where I was like, this movie definitely toes the line on making you uncomfortable and wondering, like, is this trying to make a point about violence towards women, or is it just like exploiting it? You know what I mean?
It could be both. I definitely would see it to be a balance of both for sure.
Yeah, because that, especially with Titus, like you were saying, Titus and Faith, I was like, oh, this feels like really gross.
Well,
like
it did feel gross. It made me uncomfortable, but it builds towards something really epic at the end, though, which I kind of saw coming a mile away, and I expected, but I felt really satisfied by. So when I got there, it almost felt like that this scene kind of earned that ending a little bit, even if it was a little tad too gross and a little too on the nose. And here we're sitting here, we talk about horror movies every week on the show, but it really did. It was mean spirited and in real life enough where I just don't want to see like a large grown man kicking the shit out of a small woman. I just don't like it.
It gave me similar feelings to like when I watch like the 70s, I Spit on Your Grave, or Last House on the Left, where you're like, it's
a little icky. It's icky. Yeah. It's meant to be. And again, movies they do have a right to go there. And I'm not saying it shouldn't have gone there. It kind of earned that ending by the end of the movie for sure.
For sure. And when we get to the ends, what comes back around is Grace is locked in a freezer. There's really no way out. You can definitely tell that she is literally and figuratively back against the wall. And then she asks Titus to marry her and reveals the loophole, and Elijah Wood's lawyer goes, yep, that's true. And so she and Titus get married.
Yeah.
Which, Titus at this point is, I can't tell if he's supposed to have a British accent at times, or if that's just the way he talks. He's like very prim and proper, and I talk like this, but then sometimes a little bit of British accent comes through.
I didn't hear any British accent, bro. I didn't. I don't know.
I heard it a lot, especially in like that third act. But then you get Ursula coming and talking to Grace, and she reveals like how she's always tried to steer her brother the right way and kind of keep tabs on him, and he's a raging psychopath below, and he cannot be the High Council. And then he's there.
I mean, bro, how you gonna do my girl Sarah Michelle Gellar like that? How you gonna do her like that? No,
I know.
I was so bummed. I was hoping she'd make it to the end of the movie, but. Once again, just like Helen in I Know You Did Last Summer. Unfortunately, though, not a very memorable or iconic death here. Just gets her neck snapped. Like, I mean, I don't know. I just expected a little bit more.
Yeah, I did too. But I mean, you kind of knew that one of them was going to have to die.
For sure.
just because they're bickering back and forth about who's actually going to take over the seat when they get it and how do they share it. But yeah, I was also a little sad to see her go in such a lackluster way.
And that's when they reveal, when after he kills her, he says, you forgot there's no rule against killing family members. So that's what leads us to the ending here.
And then they get to the really cool wedding where I was like, man, Faye and I should have gotten married like this.
Bro, I fucking wish, dude. Everyone wearing cloaks and shit in a dark room.
Yeah.
Hail Satan.
Like, her crown and like her veil was so fucking cool.
It was rad, yeah. I like the production design a lot of this. This ending here was pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, and I do like how they stick with you're always signing everything in blood. Like that never goes away, to the point of being kind of funny where it's just like there's so much signing with a pen with blood.
Well, I loved earlier when the character's like, can we at least sterilize this? And Elijah Wood just like gives him this fucking look and eye roll. It was so funny.
When he's like, yeah, I don't really want to do the blood pen. And he's like, you have to do the blood pen. But yeah, they go through the ceremony, they get married, and there's a giant pit that looks like it's full of like old goats that have been sacrificed, and like their carcasses and skulls are there. And then Samara Weaving, man, goes fucking feral on Titus and just starts stabbing him with that pen
in the throat, and over and over and over and over, and brutally. She's finally getting him back for what he did to Faith. And literally, then she just like, thanks for reminding me that killing a family member, there's no rule against it. Then she takes the seat of the head council. She's like, she's the one. She's the queen, if you will.
Yeah. And then she looks back at Elijah Wood and she's like, hey, like, I can do anything I want now. And he's like, anything you want. And she's like, cool. I don't ever want to be on this council anymore. Remove me. I want to be free about. And he's like, all right. And what is funny here is where she's like, he's like, you have 3 minutes before dawn or else the devil's gonna be mad. And then the one cousin is like, what, can she do that? And he's like, yeah, there's surprisingly little guidelines on what she can and can't do here.
So she takes off the ring and she tosses it in that pit, and then it's an amazing scene of all those dudes all those people wearing cloaks jumping in after it and then brutally murdering each other trying to grab the ring. And then no one ends up successful or coming out victorious there. And of course, Grace and Faith just walk out. They grab that poor goat. Thank God the goat didn't get it, man. I was so happy.
Yeah, I was worried because they came close.
There was a knife. There was a knife real close to that goat. I'm like, please don't kill the goat. I mean, I know it's a Satan thing, and you kind of have to do the thing with the goat, but please don't do it. Right. They ended up coming out victorious. The two sisters. They've gone through hell and back. They can barely fucking walk. They're walking down. Pretty epic shot of them walking down the driveway there, out to try to leave the compound. Or resort, if you will.
Yeah.
It's a fucking golf course resort thing. But I liked everyone exploding. Did you hear about that screening they did at South by Southwest, where every time someone exploded, they would spray blood on the audience?
No, that's fucking
yeah. They gave them all ponchos and stuff, and man, that would have been so cool to experience that. I wish more movies would enhance like the whole 40X thing or something, but instead of spraying water, spray like blood. But
yeah,
I thought the ending was pretty awesome, actually.
Yeah, I think it was a good third act. It didn't lag at all. I mean, it's I think, like you said, the Radio Silence guys have impeccable pacing. They're really good about giving you a full length feature that acts 1 through 3 are going to get you exactly what you need and get you going there. So I wasn't worried that once we got about halfway through, when things start picking up, I knew that they weren't going to let me down in the third act.
Yeah. And I think it's time for that, man. Now that we're at the end of the final act there, trash it or treasure it, and final thoughts. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, final thoughts for me are, it's definitely in line with its predecessor with Ready or Not. I think that it goes in the right direction with having to build on that world. Again, it's there's some things that you really have to just take a moment and be like, look, it's a fucking movie about Satanists. So the fact that it's the day after she just went through this terrible ordeal, and she's doing it again, it is what it is. I don't think it reinvents the wheel at all, but it's fun. It's gory. It's got really good character work. I wish the writing had been a little better in terms of all of the characters and giving them enough screen time, but especially the sister connection. Like, there are some things that just kind of took me out of it, like where they're being super sarcastic with each other. And I get that there's some comedic relief when you're going through some stressful shit, but like,
you need that levity there a little bit.
some of their banter back and forth was a little out of place for me. But overall, it's a fun movie. I think people should go support it and go watch it. And to see Samara Weaving 7 years later still come back and be a rock star with this one, like that's great. So for me, it's a treasure.
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point there perfectly, like the fact that there was a sequel made for that to the first movie, and that it is out in theaters right now. And if you're a fan of that movie, absolutely go support this one, because while it is more of the same, you do get some Catherine Newton sister fun in there. And as much as I dislike how egregious the foul language in this movie is in a lot of the dialogue, it didn't ruin the movie for me. I still had fun. Now, is it as good as the first? By definition alone, no, not really. I mean, but I think it falls perfectly in place next to the first one as a nice companion piece. Honestly, I feel like there could be a combined version of these movies where you put them both into one, because this one picks up right where the other one leaves off.
Kill Bill, huh?
Yeah, you could do it, man. I mean, and it would play really well, I feel like, because that's the one thing Radio Silence did here. They didn't miss a step, I think, in terms of character work and the lore and all of the stuff they built in the first movie. It falls in line perfectly well. The movie itself is not perfect, but I think it was fun and it was a good escape. And in a weekend where we have Project Hail Mary out and something like this, you have to celebrate that, I thought the movie was perfectly fine. It was good. It was fun. So I'm going to treasure it. Ready or Not 2, here I come, ladies and gentlemen. That is our Fresh Fright review. Let us know if you've seen the movie in the comments wherever you're seeing this posted and what you thought of the movie. If it's your first time listening, thanks for checking us out. We appreciate you. And if you're a long-time listener, we fucking love you. Thanks for sticking with the show here in our 12th year of Epic Film Guys. We're available on every single podcast platform, known to man, and of course at Epic Film Guys on all the social media platforms that you follow. So until next time, I'm Justin.
I'm B-ratty.
And as always, we'd like to ask you to keep that shit creepy.